Producer Joe here from the Working Fans Podcast. And at the Working Fans Podcast, this is just a podcast that three lifelong fans created to have a place to talk comedy and pro wrestling. Now, our comedy podcast releases every Tuesday, while our wrestling podcast releases every Thursday. We release bonus episodes under the moniker Working Fans Presents every now and then. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, any major podcast provider. The important thing is just please like, rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to us. Now, we have started a new thing. We are now on Amazon and Audible. So those episodes release every Monday. And that's kind of going through the archives and just releasing our old episodes in a new area. So if you want to live through the process with us again, take that journey with us again, you can find us over on Amazon and Audible. Now, if you can't get enough of us in the audio form, check out our YouTube. It's youtube.com/C/Working Fans Wrestling Pod, or just search Working Fans Podcast on YouTube. We have the whole archive is up there. And if you listen to the Working Fans Podcast, you are more than familiar with the 531. That is our signature segment where we take your top 5 lists on a particular subject, vote it down to a top 3, and then debate it down to a top 1. Now, guys, if you want to hear 3 guys talk shit about comedy, wrestling, life, anything, you will enjoy the Working Fans Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Working Fans Podcast. I got a special guest today out of the independent wrestling scene in Ohio. She's been on AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation against Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, respectively. And she's here to tell us a little bit about herself, Miss Shawna Reed. Shawna, thank you for doing the show.
Thanks for having me.
Will do. Now, basic question. I'm sure you've been asked this a bunch of times, but what kind of got you into pro wrestling, fandom-wise?
I always say it was a geeky childhood dream of mine. My brother and I used to fight over who would play the PS2. So my mom had to make times that would allow for both of us to do it. And if we wanted to play during the other's time, then we would have to play what the other person wanted to play. And so my brother always wanted to play WWE and all that. So I ended up starting to play that. He would quiz me on the wrestlers that, went in between, before the matches started.
Oh, yeah.
And so that kind of started that. And then I didn't realize this was an actual thing, and then when I found out that, WWE was a thing and these people were real, it kind of all started from there.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That makes a lot of sense. I don't think I ever heard that answer, but it's pretty good because you're playing a video game. This is just fantasy, and now it's wait, this shit's real. That's pretty cool. Now you've been trained by, just looking at your profile a little bit, Cody Hawk, Dustin Rhodes, and Super Zeta. Is that correct?
Super Zeta, yeah.
I don't know if that's the man's name. Tell me a little bit about how you train with each of those guys, because I feel like it's been probably different camps and stuff, maybe.
Yeah, so Cody was the first person that ever put me into wrestling. He trained John Moxley, Sami Callihan, Eli Drake, all those kind of people. And he was my first trainer. He taught me everything, and he taught me old school, which I'm super thankful for. Taught me how to call shit in the ring on the fly. Love it. And then Zeta would end up coming to practice. He lived half the year in Mexico and half the year in America. And he was a very well-known, famous luchador in Mexico. Which he became pretty much my best friend in the entire world. Unfortunately, we lost him to cancer.
Oh,
Um, yeah, 2 years ago. So that was really,
right.
really hard. But he taught me, all the flippy stuff. I'm a 5'10" tall girl. I don't, I don't flip. I stay on the ground. And he would force me to do this stuff. And then, with how fast they do stuff in Mexico, like to breathe and like, they're like, oh, hey, we're going to do this flip and this flip and this flip and this flip. And then, oh, by the way, breathe in between all this stuff if you can find time. And then 6 years later down the road, here we are, Dustin Rhodes is opening up a school. And so therefore I applied, didn't think I'd honestly get in. Like I was like, we're just gonna shoot our shot here. And I did, and he called me, and I'm like, oh crap, now this is a thing. So I had to quit my job and move to Texas for 3 months. And it was really like he was training people from the ground up. So I was the only one there that really had experience. So
Okay.
it was really cool to be his like pretty much test dummy and like get to show because I was like a gold dust mark. So I'm like, oh my god, gold dust gave me an arm drag. Like, oh my god, gold dust gave me a hip toss. But it was also for me to like truly find out the character I wanted to be, and they really helped me become that character and to christen up on things like the basics because you need those things. And I was so thankful I went down there.
Now, you said you went there for about 3 months. How long ago was that you actually went down there?
It was January to the end of March.
Oh, okay, so this year, so fairly recent. And you've been doing this for about 6 years, you said?
Yeah, it'll be 6 years in September.
Okay. So now, and your current character, that is kind of out of working with Dustin, then.
Yeah, so I was always like this kind of psychotic character, but I never really brought her out that much because I never really understood how I wanted to do with her. I didn't get
Right.
it. And then when I went down to Texas, I told Dustin, I'm like, I want to be this what looks like an innocent like girl next door, but she's like a freaking murderer and she will kill you kind of thing. And so their idea was schoolgirl that's like schizophrenic pretty much and talks to like 20 people in her head and will murder you. And I went along with it and it's been doing good so far. So
Yeah, we interview comedians on this show too, and they call it like finding your voice. Like basically, you're looking to identify that character when you feel like you finally own it. I guess is how they would word it there. Yeah, I feel like there's a certain thing with wrestling too. Like like you in the early years, right? You're trying to find out who you are, and like just to be able to like put that out there. I guess
exactly, yeah.
Now, wow. So I gotta say, it's funny talking to you because you can tell you're still, if you don't mind the expression, kind of a nerd for this stuff, right? Like it's super.
I'm such a nerd.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I think it's great, and that's good. And that's all right. We're just gonna move on because I thought that's great though. But what was AEW like working with Rosa? And I know I think you've done some Mission Pro Wrestling too, which is her promotion, if I'm correct. But what was it like working in AEW and then the match with Rosa and Britt Baker?
So I am such a fan of Thunder Rosa. Like she's one of my she was one of my like dream matches to have. And so the second day when they said, "Hey, you got Rosa," I'm like, "I got what? I got who? Me? Are you sure it wasn't the other person? Like what?" And so to be able to wrestle her and it to be on AEW was a huge deal to me. It meant so much, and like I was trying not to fangirl when I was freaking talking to the chick just like in the back, and the fact that I got to wrestle her on AEW was a huge deal for me. And I had been on shows with Britt when she was on the indies and never got to work her, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, like I was a huge I was a super fan that day for Rosa. And then even when I went and worked Mission Pro, I had to, remind myself, Shawna, like, calm the hell down. Like, this chick is going to think you're weird. Like,
I mean, if you look at it just from an outside perspective, like, I didn't know you did the Mission Pro after. So that means she had the match with you. So she must have saw something in you to invite you on there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I was super excited because after I got done wrestling her, she came right up to me, found me, and like handed me her phone, and her husband was on the phone and got all my information, and I was like booked like a week later. So
That's pretty awesome. Now, what would you say for you personally? You've been doing this for 6 years. Are some of the harder aspects of pro wrestling, the stuff that's like maybe more of a grind, or how what would you say for you personally?
mentally.
Mm-hmm.
First it is, the bumps and the moves and all that stuff. But then like how many bumps you take, it does not prepare you for how are we allowed to like F-bomb on this
Oh yeah,
podcast?
do whatever you
Okay.
want.
We do not this does not prepare you for how mentally the wrestling business will fuck you up in the brain. Like I love this business. You even said I'm such a nerd for this business. I love everything about it.
Radiates
But
off you, but go ahead.
it's fucked me up mentally so
Mm.
bad. Like you have to be strong physically, let alone but then you got to be strong mentally. Like you work, you feel like you're working your ass off and you're getting nowhere. Like you see your friends that have been in the business like small, like a lot less than you. Like you see guys 3 months in the business and they have a WWE tryout and they're on WWE, It's like that messes with you, relationships, like all this stuff. And it's really, really hard. And I'm actually going through some mentally stuff right now, unfortunately, but I'm pushing through it because I love this business and I love doing this and I won't let that stop me. Like it's fucking hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah, you can see you love it, and I guess just personal experience, like from my world, I own a little business, and I get very little sleep, like 3 hours a night some nights. I've been doing it for 4 years, and I talked to another girl, totally random, but like she came from like an abusive background and stuff like that. And we were just talking about stories, and it's just like one thing I would say in common with a lot of journeys that are really hard is just endure. Learn to endure and move forward and forward. And
Yeah, I got a tattoo. I don't know if you can see it says "Endeavor to Persevere" on my arm.
yes.
So,
Where
and
did
then
you
I'm
get
a nerd
that?
too. So it says my heartbeat and it says wrestling in it because I'm a nerd.
I love it. I love it. Where did you get that?
Where I got this like years ago.
Mm.
Oh, this is my first tattoo ever. Like so,
Okay.
years and years.
And you only got the two.
No, I'm 13.
Okay, that seems to be the usual thing. That's why I was asking. I'm like, usually, like especially in the wrestling business, and anybody who's like tells me this shit is fucking hard. Like I'm always like, I bet you got a lot of tattoos though.
And I'm a nurse in another life too, so it's fine.
Oh, you are. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That's
Fix people by day and break them by night, bro. It's fine.
It's funny because some of the women I talk to about like some of the mentally challenged, like some of the enduring and tough times I know for some people have, for whatever reason, they're nurses too. So that's kind of ironic you said that. So maybe there's something to that, right? Like you struggle and you just want to help people, I guess, partly too.
Yeah, make someone's life better than my own. It's fine.
Bless you. All right. So did I see you doing some modeling or photography as well?
Yeah, I model.
How's that going?
Well, I just started, so so far so good.
Is that challenging from a I guess just to do it, right? Take the leap. Is that hard?
Yeah, I'm such an awkward person. Like I'm so weird. So they're like, "Okay, get in front of the screen and start posing," and I'm like. Like I am terrible at it. They have to pose me like Steph doesn't. Where is this? What's this finger doing? What is this? Like. But once I see the finished product, I'm like, damn, that's me.
Well, there you go. Self-esteem booster, at least. So that's good.
Yes,
right?
there's something.
Just try some shit out. You know what? Because eventually we got to get better at it, right?
Right.
So, okay. I also saw you recently did a ladder match for your first time. How was that experience overall? The good, the bad? Curious.
So it was this past Saturday. I just did my ladder match. I dislocated my hip and pinched my sciatic nerve last Monday. I was in the hospital.
God bless you, a nurse. Jesus.
And so they're like, yeah, you're not wrestling this weekend. I'm like, yeah, I have my first ladder match. Watch me. And so like, I'm like, if I can't walk, then I won't do it. But I'm like, was able to walk. It hurt. It still hurts. But it was against 4 other girls. And, I went in there and I told them like, hey, this is the situation. And one of the girls is my sister, and like, well, we have a faction where we're sisters, not blood sisters, but she's like one of my absolute best friends, and she was in the match too. She goes, I will make sure no one gets near that left hip, like, and so I was so thankful for her. Like the other 2 girls paired off, and I stayed with her.
Okay.
And me and her have our magic in the ring. And so that was good. And the fact that was her first ladder match too. So we each got to, do that. And then I went over for the title. So
Pretty
it was really cool. But it was terrifying because like the ring wasn't balanced. So like when I'm going up on this freaking ladder to get the title, they're like, oh, don't worry about it. The title will fall right down.
Did not.
I did it and it got stuck, and I'm like, oh god. And so I'm doing this and I'm feeling this ladder like I'm like, I'm gonna die. And then I look down and see Haley, my sister, grab onto the ladder and hold up and just look up at me, and I'm like, oh, God bless you.
Oh, that's crazy. So stories of the indies there. So rings, ladder, yeah. Now, I'm curious because you don't hear about this. You hear a lot about it from the old timers, especially. But you said your friend was going to protect you there and had your back and kind of watch you. But obviously, things happen accidentally. But you don't have to name any names either. I'm not doing that. I just want to know: have you ever had somebody you feel try to take liberties with you in the ring, though?
Very much so.
Wow. All right. Wow. And that's happened.
Yeah, that's not even a question. Like, it sucks because there are some people here that we all want to see everybody do so well, and there's other people here that's like they just care about themselves, and which is it's crappy and it's shitty, and they want to get their shit in, they want to look good, they don't give a crap what you look like.
Wow.
And I've encountered that multiple times, and it sucks. But it's so hard to make magic when you do that.
Yeah.
But when you find those girls, those guys, those people that you connect with, and then you're there for each other because you're helping each other look good. If one of you is just like being a dick and like, hey, I'm just gonna do all this and you're gonna die,
Right.
like it's nothing. So yeah, unfortunately, there are a few of those out there.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, you're in a business too. I mean, I don't think we're like giving away too many secrets. That cooperation is a huge thing. Obviously, you got to perform, and that's all on you too. But I mean, like you said, right? If you got somebody who's all about themselves, that's not a great dance partner, obviously.
No.
All right. So, what are some of your goals now? At least your short-term goals. Obviously, I'm assuming you want to, get the big contract, whether WWE or AEW. But what are some of your short-term goals?
I've been really trying to rethink that through. I've done about 16 WWE extra spots, and then just at the AEW spot, and so I've been to the dance. Like, I mean, I've never signed the contract, but I've been to both places. And don't get me wrong, if either of them came to me and said, "Hey, here's a contract, we want to sign you," I'm gonna be like, "Yes, where do I sign?"
Yeah.
But like, I'm also looking more towards, I don't know, like I teach a kids class here in Cincinnati, a wrestling kids class here in Cincinnati. And I've really, really started loving the whole training aspect of wrestling. So maybe in the future, just, doing that kind of stuff. But I mean, my ultimate goal is to be able to do this full time and not, have to be a nurse. Like,
Right.
unless someone gets hurt in the back and I have to do that, like I'm doing now anyways. But
yeah, you're very handy to have on the show. Yeah, sure, promoters like that.
I've been out of the country to wrestle. I've done, like, my ultimate goals when I got into the business were to make an impact on women's wrestling, wrestle for WWE, and wrestle out of the country. And other than trying to still make that impact on women's wrestling, I've done the first two in the matter of, I did that in my first year. And so trying to, get new goals, I think it's just honestly is just continue. The new goal is to try and be able to do this full time.
Yeah.
And not have to go to a shoot job and, you know.
So short-term goals are gone. We're going for the big one right now.
Now I've been in this 6 years. It's time to go big or go home. I'm 27 years old. My window of opportunity, unfortunately, you know, when a woman gets in their 30s, when a man gets in their 30s, their opportunity to get signed big, unfortunately, the window is closing, and there's nothing we can do, you know. So I'm gonna keep trying, and if nothing happens, oh well. If something happens, thank God.
Yeah, just keep putting yourself out there. You're very passionate. I really wish you luck. One thing I wanted to ask you too, I forgot, but did you end up doing any shows with no fans besides the AEW? I was just curious. A lot, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how was that?
Different, you know. We would end up doing like stuff that was like just videoed, so they were on lives and stuff like that, or we'd film it and then it'd be shown like a few weeks later or whatever. But I've done customs before, and that's pretty much what I felt like customs was. But I mean, it's nothing compared to going out there and having fans.
Right. Were you able to pick up anything from it though? Did you have any positives? Like, you able to anything from your craft, or would you say no? We just got through this.
We just got through this.
Yeah. I understand that. All right. Well, this has been fun. Now, why don't you tell everybody social media and where to find you, and anything else you got coming up too? Go right ahead.
All right. You can find me on Facebook at Shawna Reed. You can find me on Twitter, Shawna Reed 93. Really?
Oh, I see. Yeah, someone messaged. Yeah, I see that.
That's my partner.
Making the
Shawna
run
Reed
in.
93 on Twitter. We'll get in here if you're gonna, do this.
What are we doing?
We're doing
Join the podcast. Come on down.
What's
We're finishing up, but I mean, you can come in the main
We're putting
event.
over where you can find me.
Yeah.
That's my life story. You guys enjoy? Bye.
Hey, you can get your social media in too. It's all good.
Anyway,
this has been some unexpected. It's like we kept it short, but we had a few things. I like this. Okay.
So Shawna Reed 93 on Twitter, Shawna_Reed on Instagram. I have a like page on Facebook. So just my name, YouTube, official Shawna Reed. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. We'll get all that information out in this interview. Shawna, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.